6 months.
Is that Yvette supposed to?
Or just say squat up.
Welcome to Wholesale Hotline. I'm Brent Daniels.
I'm Jamil Damji.
And I'm Jerry Norton.
And I'm Pace Morby.
Every week we bring you the best information on real estate investing.
Be sure to participate in the comments.
And subscribe.
So thank you so much for calling Wholesale Hotline.
Wow, that's great.
Welcome back to Wholesale Hotline. I am Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, joined by Jerry Norton, Jamil Damji, and RJ Bates III today, our guest host. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Freezing.
I'm just honored to be here. I'm just the broke white guy on the show. I'm excited.
You're not any of those things. Actually, you're one of those things.
I'm one of those things.
You're one of those things.
I'll tell you what, though, I feel like this has been your year, RJ. I really do. I feel like you've really done made some huge strides with your YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were mentioning today that you made a video every single day of this year. Is that right?
That is accurate. The goal was every single day. So this is December 16th episode. So I appreciate you guys inviting me on. So I didn't have to come up with a new video. But yeah, man, set the goal. It's been an amazing experience. It's made me better at thinking deeper into wholesaling, how to really impact people's lives. And listen, I'm just chasing you boys. I mean, I got all y'all's channels up there. How many subscribers y'all got? Views? I'm just chasing after you. So I appreciate you guys inspiring me to do this year.
You know, one thing I'll say, sorry, Jamal, one thing I'll say about RJ Bates is he brings a very fresh perspective to wholesale real estate, which I really appreciate. Lots of original ideas, a very specific way of doing things. I've had the honor to do live calls with RJ. I did a breakdown of, which I very rarely do, but I did a breakdown of his method on a video a while back. And RJ, I just appreciate the raw, real, you're not afraid to show the inside of this, the underbelly of this business, the heart of this business. And you really believe in your way of doing things. You're very consistent about it. It's a very simple model, really, to follow. It's not, you don't overcomplicate things, which I really appreciate. So I just want to say thank you for being a great voice to the industry, because I think you're really doing some great things.
Well, thank you. And I will say I have to give credit to one of my partners on the education side, Nick Robbins. He came on a year ago. So he was actually a student. He came to the last ever Crucible that we had. I found out he had an 8-figure marketing background. And whenever you got the guy with the 10 million ClickFunnels award behind him on Zoom calls, you cling on to those guys, right? So I clung on to him. And the first thing he ever told me is repetition is the mother of all skills. He's like, RJ, if you can just go out there and repeat your message over and over and over again, it's really going to start resonating with people, and that's where they start implementing it. And so, whereas times I feel like I'm just repeating myself till I'm blue in the face, it's really starting to catch steam now, and we're seeing people get results from the implementation. So, shout out to you, Nick.
Well, I want to dive in to what I admire RJ on specifically. I mean, there's a lot of things he does really well. Give real quick backstory. When I was first starting Key Glee, I kept hearing this name, RJ Bates, because these guys were buying and closing buku houses. They were flipping more homes than more people than most people. and I seen him on the tax record, so these weren't like these were real, right? He wasn't just wholesaling. Not that that's a bad thing, but he's buying, holding, flipping, and so I remember trying to track RJ down and talk to him because I wanted to sell him deals. I wanted to just dispo deals to the guy. Lo and behold, time progresses. I get to meet him, and he starts to pivot into more of a wholesale strategy, and explain to me why. He lots of flips. They were hard to manage. He understood wholesale was his special niche. He's really great at acquisitions and went down on it. And then I've been seeing him just hold fast and true to the direct to seller model. When there's, of course, Jerry, you and I we've always been the, on the agent side of things and the relationship side of things. Brent, he's been very much on the direct to seller side, but pivoted from cold call, really, really heavy into pay per lead and his new inbound strategy, which of course is doing phenomenal for him and Rhino Tribe. And RJ has stuck to the guns of, listen, get on the phone, and you can still hit these tiny little markets where guys like Jamil are telling you to stay away. Maybe guys like Jerry are telling you to stay away. Everyone's telling you to stay away from these tiny little markets, and he's cleaning up over there, and he's able to sell the deals, make a boatload of money, and he's thriving better than ever today. And so I think as a strategy, I'd love for you, RJ, to kind of break that down for us so that the people watching can understand what makes you different. Why are you so headfast in the markets that you're in the direct to seller strategy that you're in? How have you made it your thing that you've been able to just hammer through for half a decade that I've known you and watched you do this?
Yeah, so great question, because I get a lot of questions about direct to agent. And I always tell them, like, listen, that's not my forte. I'm not the direct to agent guy. If you want to learn that, it's you two, right? Go learn from Jerry, go learn from Jamil. On the direct to seller side, listen, when we got started, I didn't know any better. I never really understood what I was doing at first. I guess y'all would consider direct agent. We were making blind offers off of the MLS. So I actually started there. And then when I found out about direct to seller marketing and how we could control our own destiny, because that was my biggest issue with getting deals from realtors, was if they weren't bringing them to me, if I wasn't getting offers accepted, I kind of was just left. And that's just not my personality. I want to be able to grab the bull by the horns and go make something happen today if I need to. And so that's where direct to seller really resonated with my personality. And then from there, the culture that we created in our organization. And then same thing, Brent has been deep inside of the Phoenix market in Maricopa County since I've known him. And
still is. I mean, you go to his office, it's 20% studio, 80% wholesale business. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's what it is. I mean, when you go there during the day, it's all the team is on the phone. They're doing their thing. They're closing deals. They're talking to sellers. They're doing he's running that. It becomes a educational studio in the evening, but during the day, the guy, and when he's doing his lives and whatnot, but he's otherwise just on it. Right. So yeah, he's never left that. Are you doing pay per lead too? Or are you just still okay? So you're blending it just like Brent. Then you've blended the strategy.
Oh yeah, I mean our entire lead generation now is PPL. I mean,
wow. Okay, I see. I'm behind the times on this. Okay, so you pivoted away from cold call, text messaging as well. You're PPL all the way.
Yeah. So
got it.
2021, we started PPL. Before it was even called that, it was just, hey, this is the new way of doing things. You can get PPC leads. And then we met Lead Zolo in 2022, really started using them in 2023. We picked up property leads this year. And those are our three main sources: Speed to Lead, property leads, and Lead Zolo.
Would you say they're all great at specific things, or are they all good at the same thing? Could you maybe break down and delineate what you think each of those companies are better for?
Real quick, before you get into it, let me just explain, guys. Pay per lead. These are internet-based leads where people go and they fill out on a website that they want to sell their property. Then you get a notification on that on your phone or your computer or wherever else, and you want to reach out to them as soon as possible. So for anybody that's confused about PPL, it is inbound leads, which means that the owner is initiating the relationship. They're not exactly sure who they're initiating it with, but they're putting it in a website that says "We Buy Houses," some sort of national website typically. And so that's where these leads are coming from.
And sorry, before you go on, and typically PPL, they vet the lead. So someone calls the lead, verifies it. So then when it comes over to RJ, it not only was it an inbound lead on an internet form, so high intent, but someone's vetted the lead and prepped it so that when RJ calls or whoever calls, they are expecting that call. They're ready for that call typically.
Yep. So the difference between the three companies that I use is Speed to Lead is going to be the value company, right? They put together the best packages. They have the coupon club where you can get them as low as $29 a piece.
Okay. And is a $29 lead? Let's break it down for the all of us looking to save money. Or is a $29 lead less quality than maybe a $80 lead? Are they tiered like that?
No. Okay. $29. All it means is it's 48 hours or older.
Okay.
Okay. So it came into the system. Someone may have purchased it but did not buy it 100% exclusive. So it's 48 hours old. Now anyone inside of Speed to Lead system can go in there and purchase it as many times as possible. So 100 people could buy that lead. Okay. But it shows you how many orders have been placed on there. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
So for me, the metrics on that is 1 out of 25. All right. That's what you should be aiming for.
You get one deal out of 25.
Yes, that is the
on a $29 lead.
Correct.
Let's do the math on this, guys. So 29 times 25 cost per contract $725.
Yes,
that's insanely cheap. Low. What kind of markets are we talking about for that?
Anywhere. Well, so on this, what's crazy is you can still buy them in Phoenix, Dallas, Seattle, Chicago. The hot markets. You don't have to go in the middle of nowhere. What people don't realize is that you look at a Phoenix lead that comes in and it hits Coupon Club. It's going to be rare. Okay. It's not going to happen all day because most people in Phoenix are going to be like, hey, I'm going to buy this exclusively. But if it sneaks through and it's there, or maybe it's Mesa, maybe it's, the Glendales, the little places that don't say Phoenix, right? You can buy that. It might have 4 or 5 orders. My feeling on that is there is no such thing as an exclusive lead anyways. If they filled out Speed to Leads form, they filled out Lead Zolo's property leads and Joe Buys Homes PPC ad campaign and everything else. The other thing is I'm always making the assumption that my competition sucks. This industry is horrible at follow-up and closing. So don't be afraid that, hey, just because 5 people have already purchased it, I can't close it. However, 1 out of 25 is being very generous. I mean, that gives you 24 opportunities to not close a deal. That's a lot. I mean, I'm just being real with you. On exclusive leads that we're getting from Lead Zolo and property leads, we're much better, right? We're closer to like 1 out of 10, 1 out of 12, and that's community-wide. This is not Titanium Investments numbers.
Why would you say it's different between the Speed? Is it Speed has a bigger audience?
Think about it. The lead comes in, you instantly get it. You call them, you have a much better close ratio because they just filled it out. They're still on the website.
Got it.
Instead of 48 hours goes by. A lot happens in 48 hours.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
But I'll interject there though, RJ. I mean, if you're doing PPL, same with PPC, you better have your close down. You better be able to close. If you're marginal and comp, this is where Jamil, you would actually probably kill it on PPL because I've done this live with RJ and you got to be fast on your feet. You're on the phone. It's the first time you're looking at it. You're talking. You don't have time to prepare ahead of time and comp it for half an hour. You're doing it on the fly while you're uncovering motivation and you know what I mean? And so I think where people can get messed up here is if they don't have a good close process and they're not good at determining value right on the fly. And so RJ, like when you say 1 in 10 or 1 in 12 or whatever, that's like Brent closing 1 in 10, 1 in 15 PPC.
Yep.
It's because they're really good at closing. So,
and what's the cost per on a 1 in 10? What's the cost per lead on a 1 in 10?
So let's go. Okay, this is where it gets a little complicated because it depends on your business strategy. Like lead Zolo and property leads, you could do nationwide for the cheap, right? You could do statewide. So say you're Arizona only, you could do the entire state, or you could just do specific counties, which is going to be the most expensive. So you're going to range anywhere from like $50 all the way up to potentially like $300-400, depending on what county you're in. Okay. And obviously, the hotter the county, these companies are smart. Also, it costs them more money to generate that lead.
100%. That's why they're charging you more money, because just for them to target that area is 10 times the cost.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, our strategy has always been nationwide. So we have the cheapest lead cost, and we instantly are, because we underwrite on the phone, we will sit there and we will say, we cannot do this deal because you're in the middle of nowhere and we don't have any buyers. So we're okay kicking that lead off to the curb and saying no to it. This is why we all say, hey, embrace no. We're the buyer, right? That's not my deal. I'll say no to that one. I'll go on to the next one. And then when we have identified this is in an area where we know we have buyers and it's a deal, those are the ones that we're closing. So when I say close 1 out of 25 or close 1 out of 15 on some of these other lead generation sites, I'm really talking about we're making the decision to close it, not can we close it. And Jerry's seen that on my lives where it's like, I chose not to close that one. I kicked that one to the curb. And then this one, like the last one Jerry and I did, I got a lead for, I think, $300. It was right outside of Seattle. No one had purchased it yet because it didn't say Seattle. And I got 2 properties for that. So my cost per contract on that live was about $700 because I spent about $1,500 and I got 2 contracts. But every other lead I said no to. It wasn't like it wasn't a closable deal. It was just I chose it. So going back real quick, I just want to wrap this up though. The difference between the 3, Lead Zolo is YouTube, video ads, okay? That's the benefit for them. They see someone, they hear someone. And normally, because it's YouTube related, it's also because at some point in time they search need to sell my house fast, and then YouTube's algorithm said this ad fits for you. Okay, so very targeted, good leads. Property leads, what they bring to the table is SEO leads. Yep. They have an SEO spider web out there that is better than anyone else. No one can compete with their SEO. So Speed Lead is value. Lead Zolo is the video aspect.
What's value?
Just cheap, good price.
Value, understood.
Yeah,
okay,
good price.
And then property leads is the SEO side of things, which if anyone's ever had SEO leads, you know those are the best.
Now, RJ, one hack strategy I like to do with Speed to Lead is they put on their listed properties. So it's like a seller fills out a form, but then they also say that it's listed. And those are cheap because people are like, I don't want to call it, it's listed. I love calling those. You know, Jamil, you would too, because you're like, oh, there's an agent in here. Let's get this agent involved. What's going on here? And a lot of times it's a buddy, a sister that's listing it for them. They have all this flexibility. We just did one where it was listed, but it wasn't really listed because the seller had control. They could say, nah, that's just them helping me out. And you can uncover that stuff when you understand that part of it.
Or you can uncover that they're maybe unhappy with what's happening with the agent because there's been activity.
Yep.
And maybe you can start planting seeds for, a different price or, there's a lot of things that you can do there. So I think it makes a lot of sense to buy the lead that's listed on the MLS. You've uncovered massive motivation because you've got a guy or a woman who said, hey, I'm listed. I raised my hand already, but I'm getting so antsy. I'm going onto the internet and I'm going to go see if I can find somebody to come buy it from me personally. So I think that's a double whammy right there. It uncovers so much in the mind of the seller.
Yeah, what's great about how RJ does this too is It's constant action. Like it's just high action because you're literally talking to high intent sellers all the time. Like almost every call. It doesn't mean it's a deal every single time, obviously, but you're not talking to someone and saying, "Hey, do you want to sell?" It's, do you still want to sell, and what price do you want, and let's see if that number works. So it's just such a different way of like getting right to deals is the way RJ does it. So it's pretty fun.
I always say this to people. Prior to PPL, all we did in the wholesaling world is try to come up with ways to mine through all of the homeowners to find the ones that would raise their hand and say, I have a property I need to sell. Now PPL says, here's their phone number. Call them.
Let me ask you this, RJ. What do you think the minimum budget per month should be for somebody to take PPL seriously?
Great question, Brent. Great question.
What's that?
Great question.
Yeah.
$6,000.
6,000. Yep.
6,000 a month.
6,000 with two people. I think you could do $1 million.
Awesome.
6,000 a month in spend. You could generate $1 million in fees.
If you could close, one person buys the leads, one person closes, the other person does the dispo. 2 deals a week. Average $15,000 assignment fee, contract to close ratio of 70%.
I would say that that would probably be in the smaller markets, though, RJ. Not tiny markets, but you can't do that in Phoenix.
No. I would never advise someone to try to
or Dallas or something. So I want people to understand that there is.
So what kind of market is a $6,000 a month spend market? What market?
Nationwide.
Nationwide.
That's nationwide. You're gonna, and you know what? When you look at the different kinds of things that we have right available to us, like Investor Lift or Investor Base, Keegley, Nationwide. You've got all these different dispo resources. You could absolutely say, you know what? I'm going to do this nationwide. I can do this virtually. I'm going to buy the leads on the cheap, and I'm going to just. You're going to really need to have incredible comping skills because comping across the nation is not going to be easy. It's going to be really difficult. Take it from a guy who's comped across the entire country. It's hard figuring out the nuances, but it's doable. And RJ's saying that you could smash out $1 million a year business, right? And let's just say you're operating at 40% expenses. That's $600,000. In net, you pay a little bit of taxes, you're taking home $400,000. I don't know about you guys, but you taking home $400,000 a year on a $6,000 a month spend. I'm not mad at that. I'm really, really happy about that. But Brent, let's raise the bar, okay? Because you guys both know about the expensive markets. What's the minimum budget for a market like a Phoenix or a Dallas or Houston, Tampa?
Well, listen, I think if you're in Phoenix, if you're in Tampa, if you're in Dallas, if you're in Atlanta, you need to expect it's going to be $500 a lead.
Okay.
And I'm fine with that. Listen, I'll pay $7,500. I'll go through 15 leads to do one deal because I'll make 30. Right. So that's a 1 to 4. You get 1 to 4 at scale. You have a money printing machine. But I think it's important and I really want to break this down because I think that there's 4 real levels. And this goes on. This is very similar to probably my favorite video that Jerry's ever done, where he's standing in front and he's going through different phases of your business. But I think $0 to $1,000 budget a month is where most people are starting out. Right. And then there's 1,000 to 5,000, there's 5,000 to 10,000, and then there's 10,000 plus. All right. And I think that you have to get to that point, just like RJ was saying, where you're in that 5 to 10,000 to really, if you have other people on your team, to really build some momentum in your business and start really closing some deals. Now you could do it at 1,000 to 5,000, but that 1,000 to 5,000 range, everybody wants to skip that. They want to close that $30K deal and throw all that $20K at PPL before they have their systems and really more importantly, their skills really tightened.
So let's map it out.
Yeah.
Right. Let's map this out really quickly for the people in the back not paying attention.
Yep.
right? Brent's saying, guys, you don't start there, right? You start where it's inexpensive. Maybe you start with direct to agent. Maybe you start with on market. You start where the leads are free, and you do the sweat equity. You grind it, you build relationships, and you keep that funnel going. You don't end that funnel. You keep that funnel going. You create the relationships and you monetize that. I'm still eating off those agent relationships, and it's amazing. Now, let's just say a guy like me starts doing well. I start making some bank, and I've got a little bit of expenses now in the bank. And I say, okay, I'm going to do what RJ and Brent are doing. I'm going to go and put $10K a month into leads, and I'm going to start closing there. Maybe that's generating me another 100 grand. You're saying 10 grand. If I'm spending 10, I'm going to get 4X. So if I'm spending 10 grand, I'm getting 40 back. Correct?
I mean, it just depends. I mean, RJ's got a totally different model. RJ's got a model where he's so good at closing over the phone that he can go into those virtual markets, build enough relationship with these sellers to trust them to get the job done, and have that combined with a really robust disposition team that's going to sell his deals for him, right?
Real quick, can I say something on this, though? Because I tell everybody this. You got to choose your hard.
Yep.
Okay? You are either going to have difficult lead gen and closing, or you're going to have difficult dispo. I chose my hard, difficult dispo.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather have a contract in hand that I can dispo, that I can monetize, than me sitting here going, oh my God, there's so many people in Phoenix that I'm struggling. Every time I talk to somebody, there's 10 other competitors that I have to beat. So I said, let's go out and let's make it easier to get deals.
Yep.
And then, yeah, we might have to work 10 to 14 days to dispo a deal. That is very common occurrence.
So since you're so good at dispo, RJ, why not add a JV arm to your business as well? Because those are free leads too, right? These are wholesalers that are having a hard time dispoing. Why not have somebody in your team mining those contracts because they're already executed and ready to go? So now you got your PPL leads, you're dispoing, and then you're dispoing other wholesalers' deals. Now you got all the goodness happening at the same time.
So we do quite a few JVs. I'll tell you the main reason why I don't want to do more. One, people are not good at comping and underwriting.
Yep.
So
100%.
Our JV inbox is a nightmare for just.
It's a trash can, but you know what? It's and I know it, guys. I see it too. But it's a trash can. But if you get good at understanding the numbers, you can look at trash and say, "Oh, I just seen a flicker over there. There's gold in that nugget. Go pick that piece up."
Right. So we do that. It's a lot. I'm not going to lie. I mean, we at one point in time this year, we had someone that we were paying a healthy salary that all they did was just go through our JV inbox and just respond.
Comp,
respond, underwrite. Like, here, this is what you got to do. Okay.
Welcome to the first 2 years of my life at Keegley.
Yeah. So we do that. I will also say, for me personally, it's hard to incentivize my dispo team. If you look at it from their perspective, they're making such a significantly less amount of commission to dispo a JV deal than they do their own deals. And so for them, it's kind of like, hey, we don't need these deals, right? We made a huge change this year to be like, hey, let's volume more money, right? We don't need the vanity metric. Right. Let's just make sure the deal that we're doing comes in house and everyone eats really well. And so that was like, hey, if we're not going to make a minimal of, 10 to 15 grand on this JV deal, we're not going to take it down. And there's what we also noticed was everyone wanted to JV a deal because it wasn't a good deal. Right. It's like, hey, can you dispo this Oklahoma, crack box for $5,000, and it's like, dude, that's really hard to do for $2,500, so that's why we don't do more JVs, even though we do quite a few.
Understood.
So question I have, RJ, and I'm familiar with this, but one of the things that RJ's branded himself with is this closer's formula. He calls it a closer's formula. And he's very much simplified the process of what it takes to close a deal. His training program, guys, he teaches this extensively. and you can watch him do it again and again and again. And RJ, maybe break it down for us as simple as you can in limited time, but help everybody understand your closer formula. And again, I do want to reiterate, guys, this formula that RJ uses, it's very specific to these high intent inbound leads like PPL leads. They work for that really well. There's not this really lengthy follow-up process. It's not super relationship driven. It's none of that. It's, do you want to sell? What's your number? Can we make this work? Type of idea. So maybe walk us through that, RJ, because I think this is critical to your success. If people were to say, why is RJ so successful at what he does? It's this formula that you have and follow to a T. And RJ, give me the real one, not the fake one, please.
Yeah. And if you guys really like this formula, this 5-step formula, make sure you just give it a new name and put it out yourself on your own YouTube channels as an original thought, and just take full credit for this 5-step formula. RJ probably didn't even invent this himself. You know what I mean? So just take it and put it out there and claim it as your own.
I like that, Brent. I actually, my only thing is if you're going to copy it, make sure you copy it word for word. Okay. That's it. At least I know it'll work. Okay. So just copy the whole damn thing. All right. I don't have any problem with that. Now, that being said, number one thing that you have to keep in mind, and this is very important, you are the buyer in the conversation. So our entire intent in the conversation is get the seller to sell us on the property. Okay. So it doesn't matter. And Jerry, I will say this also works on cold call leads as well.
It works everywhere. It works with agents, the whole thing.
Yeah. Yes.
If you don't have status, if you don't go in with the status of the buyer in a call, you're done.
Yeah. So that being said, break it down real quick because I know we want to talk about a lot of stuff. Step number one, verify that they have a property they want to sell. Step two, ask them how much they want for it. Step three, open-ended questions. Tell me a little bit about what you got going on. Not with the property, just tell me a little bit about what you got going on. This makes them go down the path of what's most important to them. Typically, it goes straight to motivation, okay? Your job at that point in time is to follow up with 3 to 5 more open-ended questions to really understand what their motivation is. Where most people mess up is they ask, tell me a little bit about what they got going on. Seller says, it's a vacant property, tenants tore it up, and I don't want to do any work to it. And they think that's their motivation. What they don't understand is the seller's getting a divorce and he doesn't have any money. That's the real motivation. But if you don't ask the next 3 questions, the next 5 questions, you don't get that. Okay. Fourth, you got to do comping and underwriting, analyze the deal while you are asking the open-ended questions.
Mm-hmm.
This is
multitask. This one. This is where you got to have some reps in to be able to do this. You got to have some reps in.
What I tell everybody is embrace awkward silence.
Yeah.
Okay? There's nothing wrong with just sitting there. In fact, most people think they have to say something. Here's what I want you to understand. Most people are only going to sell like 2, 3, 4 houses ever in their lifetime. We're asking them to sell us on it. They don't have a sales pitch. They don't have a script. If you just sit there, 1 beat, 2 beat, 3 beats, that's where you'll see a seller say, oh, I replaced the roof a year ago.
And then they're selling you. Now they're selling you.
Yeah.
And then you pause for a second, and then they go, and also I have missed 2 mortgage payments. I don't know if that's important or not. Yeah, it absolutely is. Thank you. Embrace the silence while you're doing comping and underwriting. It helps you a lot because they're going to open up. And most people can't handle it. Like they just cannot handle the silence. They're going to open up. They're going to say something. And then last, close the deal. But there's a lot that goes into the closing the deal with the reverse rapport. Okay. I believe that rapport should be built at the end through credibility. The way that we do that is explain our process. We set up the expectations. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is how this is going to work. If we could come to an agreement today, I'm going to send you over a 2-page contract. Once you sign that, we're going to come out. We're going to do our walkthrough. We're going to inspect the property. If it's everything that you said it is, then we'll be good to close at that price and on your timeline. If it's not, then we are going to have a conversation to revisit price and timeline. Is that understood? That makes complete sense. With that being said, if I cover all of the closing costs, there's no realtor commissions, and I buy it as is with cash, what's the best price you can do for me? That normally gets us 10 to 20% off of the original asking price. And in a nutshell, like, listen, I have like hours and hours of me breaking this down in a lot more details, but that's the closer's formula right there.
So,
Yeah.
So just to reiterate it, and sorry, then Jerry, pop in.
Yeah.
So number 1, be sold. You're the buyer. Number 2, find out the price. Ask price. 3, ask open-ended questions. Find out what's important, and then follow up with 3 to 5 more open-ended questions. 4, analyze the deal while on the call, embracing the silence, making it awkward, and letting them run their mouth. And then 5, close using the reverse. Close using the reverse credibility process, I believe you said, while you're building your credibility by explaining your process and then trying to anchor down another 20%. In a nutshell, would you say that that's the model?
I was pretty good. I mean, you would be like a C- student. It's pretty good.
Good. Well, guys, that's called the Jamil Damji
Summation.
No, that's Jamil Damji's formula right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's brilliant though, and it brings so many aspects, so many different things that are important into the process. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jerry.
No, it's just the first couple steps are done in 30 seconds. And one thing I do, RJ, tell me if you do it like this, but when I'm about to call the lead, I take a second, I pop it in my comping tool. I don't start comping it, but I got it up. That takes me 5 seconds while I'm getting their number together or whatever. That way, I don't want to comp it because if they don't answer, I didn't waste time. But then when the conversation's going and it's time for me to have that awkward silence, I can without using any mental space, I can start to ask a few questions while I'm comping. Conversation's kind of going on a little bit, but I'm trying to get to value. Getting to that value is everything, because if you understand a buy formula, all you really need is value. And one thing that I want to reiterate here, which is very, very important, is this model. I do this. I know Jamil does this, Brent as well. RJ's really good at this. RJ stays the heck away from condition. One of my biggest pet peeves is how much time people spend on condition. Tell me about the roof. How old is it? On a half an hour long talking about the freaking condition of the house. It doesn't matter about the condition of the house because we know it needs work. We're going to assume that in our formula, and we're going to do a walkthrough anyway. So if it's got a foundation issue or the thing's burnt to the ground or whatever, we'll uncover that when it's necessary. People do condition because they don't know what else to do. It's like, I don't know what to do right now. I'm kind of stuck. So I'm just going to ask them more questions about the furnace. Instead of like, forget all that, guys. Get to the bottom of it. Assume it needs work. Get a number and get their number and see if it works. Like, it's that simple.
It's like being on a date, Jerry, and saying, how do you like the weather? Instead of saying, do you want kids? How fast do you want to start making them?
Jamil, I've been out of the dating scene a long time, but I don't think that's the right move. I don't think that's right, Jamil. I might be wrong.
No?
Real quick.
Closer. I'm a closer.
Y'all want to get crazy on this? Because it sounds like y'all want to get nuts. All right. Y'all want to get nuts tonight? All right. Because Jerry got me all pumped up. Jerry, I love what you just said, dude. First of all, I think that's why I love doing stuff with you, because me and you are so aligned on like the condition aspect of things, along many other things, but it drives me crazy too. Here's the thing. When I get a seller on the phone, I do not put it in the comping software until they answer the phone. The moment that they pick up the phone, I'm putting that in Google Street View. It's the first thing I do, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm going to do a 360 spin. I'm going to see, hey, what's going on in the neighborhood? Is there something that's going to kill this deal? Remember, we're the buyer, right? I'm always trying to find the reason why I'm saying no. I can promise you Jamil has had some dumb stuff that he's had to comp on his comping show where it's like, hey, how would you comp this deal that's across the street from this nuclear power plant? Brother, ain't nobody buying that, all right? Like, they don't want to be on an episode of Simpsons, all right? So it's not going to be sold. So you just kill it, all right? So we do that. Then I'm dropping it in the comping software. What we're trying to identify right off the bat is, do you have a property you want to sell? How much do you want for it? And if they're motivated, okay? The two most important things that we need to identify is price and motivation. If motivation does not exist, get off the phone.
And that's your step 3, right? That's when you're asking the open-ended questions. I just want, I'm saying these things to you guys so you guys can draw the conclusions or draw the parallel. He's saying when you're finding motivation, right? You're not asking a question. You're not going to something. So tell me what's wrong with your life.
Right.
Are you about to be bankrupt? When did your wife leave? No, that's not what you're asking. What's going on? Tell me about what's going on. What's your current situation? Like, how quickly are you looking to move? Or like, what would you say some open-ended questions for the people in the back? RJ and Brent and Jerry, for those of you that are good at these, what are some open-ended questions that you would ask to get motivation out of somebody?
Jamil, I'm going to ask you, how much do you want for your property?
I want $1 million.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about what you got going on.
Oh, well, I'm about to get divorced, and the settlement's going to be about $1 million. So,
that's why you need $1 million.
Yeah,
that makes complete sense. Well, let's see if we can figure that out. Now I'm already gonna have your property pulled up. I'm gonna see, is it sitting in a $1 million neighborhood or is it sitting in a $2 million neighborhood?
Right.
Because if it's sitting in a $2 million neighborhood,
$1 million is a deal. Yep.
$1 million. I'm gonna tell you, Jamil, I'm going to be honest with you, brother. I know you need to make this quick, but in order for you to get $1 million, you need to get off the phone with me and you need to call a realtor right now. Like right now. Because you said you need it. Otherwise, if you could take less, then we could talk. But I'm an investor. I got to get this under a discount. Are you motivated enough to do that? That's how that would go down.
And you're flat out. Guys, listen to what he's saying. There's no like, he's not hypnotizing them. He's not giving them any bait and switch. He is transparently saying, I'm an investor. I need to get this at a discount.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here?
Why do you want to sell the property?
Right? Why do you want to sell the property?
Why are you looking to sell this property?
Why would I be the guy to buy your property?
Yeah.
Certain questions I love to ask, Jamil, is if I ask them what they got going on and then they don't give me a great response, but I've identified that there might be some motivation there. Love asking them, how'd you come up with that price?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If they won't tell you either
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who, what, when, why, how? Who, what, when, why, how? Who, what, when, why, how? Guys, this should be printed in front of you at all times. Who, what, when, why, how? And then if then questions. That's how you anchor them down. But I love it. I mean, you're what do you got going on? That's such a broad question.
Yeah. Get some talking.
Bananas. You know what I mean? Okay. What do you got going on?
I think another thing, RJ, I think another thing, RJ, that you're really good at is extracting the seller's price. Now, remember, they filled out a form. They identified themselves. They raised their hand. They said they want to sell. You verified that right in the beginning. Hey, I'm calling about this property. Are you the owner? Do you want to sell? Okay. What price do you want? Now, when they don't say the price, because he who names the price first loses, some sellers sort of know this. But in this situation, because you're positioning as the buyer, you're in a place to demand that answer. You get to say, what price do you want? And when they say, well, you tell me, you get to say, well, you're the one that said you want to sell your house. You're the one that filled out the form. I mean, my office said, I need to call you because you want to sell your house. Surely you have a number in mind. And so when you have that authority position, and RJ's when you watch him do this, I very rarely see where they don't tell you a number. Even if it's a pie in the sky number, you can usually get them to tell you a number.
Absolutely. One of my favorite closes of all time. And I tell everybody this, there is a compound effect to momentum. And I know Jamil believes in this. The mind is such a powerful tool that you can trick yourself into believing that you are the greatest of all time at anything. And I've done it numerous times. I was on a live one time and I went and I got a lay down lead. And I mean, I'm talking about how much do you want? 5K. And then we're talking about ARVs like 135. And I'm like, what's your email? I'm immediately like, whoo, yeah, baby. Sign contract. Next lead I call. How much do you want for it? I don't know. How much you offering? I thought you said you wanted to sell. How about you just call me back when you have an asking price? The husband screams from the background, $100,000. I'll never forget that moment. That was the moment where I was like, dude, when I positioned myself, and literally for the next 12 minutes, they sold me on the property. I said, oh, no, well, now we've got a starting price. I closed it at 90. We ended up making about a $20,000 assignment on it. That right there is what I'm talking about, where you just are you willing to get hung up on to position yourself as a buyer? Are you willing to look at it and say, I'm buying 25 of these? And if I really say things like, how about you call me back when you got a price? I got somebody else I got to talk to. Are you okay with that being one of the 24? I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it's perfect. There's people that hang up on me. And I go, well, I probably just saved myself 10 minutes.
You know what that reminds me of, Jamil? Remember when you used to look in the mirror and tell yourself you're handsome and sexy? Do you still do that, Jamil?
No, because I became handsome and sexy.
Okay, that's my point. You believe it. In fact, Jamil's dating like this super pretty girl, like way out of his league. But why? How did he land it? Because Jamil believes he's worthy of that. That's why. He's not that handsome, but he thinks he's handsome, and so he is.
That's great. That's good. No, I mean, guys, delusional optimism works, right? We all have a friend in Houston. I'm not going to say his name, but we all know a guy in Houston who's delusionally optimistic about what's going on in his life. And bro has a private plane. He's got a Bentley. He's got all kinds of good things going on, a coaching product. He's got wholesale deals. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's true.
What about timeline, RJ?
Hold on. We don't talk about timeline.
Timeline for us is number one. Absolutely number one.
They'll tell you. It'll come out with the open-ended questions. You don't have to ask them specifically. I've always felt like that comes out. Going back to the initial questions, because I wanted to say this because I love talking about it. One of the things that I'm always after, we call it the 4 seller buckets. Okay? 2 bad buckets, 2 good buckets. Makes it real simple. 2 bad buckets, wrong price, no motivation. We all know those. Those suck. Kick them to the curb. Right price, no motivation. Those are the scams. Got to get rid of those. The least common bucket, okay? Those are the ones that the new wholesalers fall for, right? Those are the ones that they go to title, they open it up, and never makes it to the closing table because it was the sister trying to sell the brother's house. The 2 good buckets, right price, high motivated. The most common bucket, highly motivated, wrong price. In order to get your cost per contract down, you have got to be great at closing the wrong price, highly motivated sellers.
Yep.
The way that we do that is by educating the seller. Now, I'm curious because I feel this is something that the industry as a whole has to get better at. So I'm curious to ask you, Jerry, I know you've seen me do this before. What are things that you guys are teaching y'all's communities to do with the people's that the price is just off, but they're motivated. They have all the motivation. What are you guys telling y'all's communities? Because mine is just purely educating them on the numbers.
That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you're dealing with a logical person, which not all sellers are, you have very high emotion sometimes. And when people are very emotionally charged over their situation, sometimes they're not thinking straight. And you'll talk to people and you'll be like, you're just out of your mind. I don't know how I can reason with you here. And so you don't, right? If they're highly emotional, you're not going to reason with them. But I found by and large, most people are very logical. And so I use data to support the cause. So I'll say to them, look, I understand you want this number. I'm looking at the information right here. I'm looking at X address. Do you know that street? Okay, it's 2 streets over from where you're at right now. I'm looking at a property that's just like yours. Same square footage, beds and baths. It looks very similar to yours. I'm seeing that this property just sold and so I arm the seller with, and I think this is what you mean, RJ. I use information to justify my cause. And then I say to them, look, for me to buy a property similar to yours that I'm going to buy, I'm going to have to fund it. I'm going to have to put some effort into this. I'm going to have to, we're here to make a money. I got to make a modest profit. all these things, commissions to resell it and things like that. This all adds up. For me to do this and pay you cash and make this simple for you, it's got to be a deal. And here's why I'm at my number. And I found that most logical people, they may not say they'll do it, but they're not offended. They're not upset. They see your reasoning. And a lot of times I'll get them to come around and say, yeah, that makes sense. And they'll come off of that unrealistic, super high number.
So a very similar process. One of the things that people give me a hard time about is being very quick and aggressive on phone calls. However, if you see me on the phone with someone where the price is incorrect, this is where I average somewhere in the range of 20 to 30 minutes to close the deal. Part of the reason why is we have identified the best way to do this is by first getting the seller to agree to the after repair value. Okay. And I want to make this very clear. And Jamil, you will probably appreciate this. The after repair value is not the maximum property value. It is the value of the property in comparison to the repairs that you are going to do to it. So we actually look at it and say, this is what the property could be worth if we did a full-blown rehab. This is what the property could be worth if we did a lipstick on a pig rehab, right? What is the best number for us? And sometimes that changes on the after repair value. So we set, this is what the after repair value. If you can get a seller to agree to that, now you're moving in the right direction. And it's more common for them to agree to that because, like you said, Jerry, you can point to specific facts. Then we go to rehab. In order to achieve that, we have to get this much in rehab. That's normally where sellers get stuck. And then we go holding costs, closing costs, and profit. They don't normally argue with any of those numbers, and that's how we're getting to this number. Once you walk them through, if you can get them to agree to ARV and rehab, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to get one of two responses. Yes, let's do the deal. Or two, I don't care about your logic. I'm going to go get the number I'm going to get. Okay, see you later.
Right. And it's the exact same logic you use with an agent.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yep.
You know, and you can get an agent to agree to ARV a lot easier because they understand comps, and you can send them to them and say, okay, look at this one. It just closed 2 weeks ago around the corner from the property.
And they're not emotionally attached.
They're not
like
emotionally
a seller.
attached. Yeah. So it gets a little bit easier in that regard. But everything that you just said, RJ, 100%.
Yeah.
100% I agree with and works. And you know, most people won't take that risk. And you can talk about that to them. You can say, look, I'm not here to lowball you. That's not my job. My job is to give you 100% of what your house is worth in its current condition. 100% of what it's worth in your current condition. And when you wholesale it, I don't even see wholesaling as making my profit off of buying it deep. I see making my profit off of taking a slice of the future potential, because I'm going to try to give my homeowner the most that they could possibly get for this property at this price. I'm going to take my profit margin from the investor later on, right? And so, not that I'm explaining that to the homeowner, but I got to have that in my mind and in my heart. When I'm dealing with a homeowner, I want to pay them as much as I can possibly pay them.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and explaining that to them and saying, look, you've got to spend $150,000 to get to the same price that Susie and Jim got around the corner that you pointed out to me that you got your price point from. Let's take a look at why. Look at the bathroom here. Look at this kitchen. You know, this appliance package itself is $7,000. You know, that's a $20,000 cabinet package. Now, here's the problem, Mr. or Miss Seller. How do you know what the market's going to want in 4 months when you go to sell that property in terms of finish? Because I'll tell you, some of my mistakes have been, I was one season behind on the flooring style, on the paint colors, and I ended up taking a bath on the house. And this is the risk of my business. This is what I'm willing to take a risk on. But are you willing to take that risk and renovate the house and do all of that, or no? You know, this is what we're talking about today.
Yeah. One thing, I love that, Jamil. One thing, RJ, I want to talk to you about or ask you about is one of the reasons why I'm so attracted and good friends with Brent, Jamil, Pace, is they take a very strong stance of high integrity in the industry, which the industry lacks quite a bit of, because let's face it, wholesale real estate does attract a get-rich-quick crowd. There's an idea around you can make a lot of money really fast with no work or effort. And it's always been that way. I've been in wholesale real estate for 20 years. It's by nature of it being a transactional type of business model, we do attract that in our industry. Now, to propel that to even worse levels, we have influencers and educators that are propelling some of this just wrong way of doing things. And it's damaging. And I think it contributes to some of the bad image we have as an industry. You are not afraid to take a very hard stance on some of these ideas around misleading, misinforming, dishonest with sellers. Talk about that a little bit. Even though it might be contradictory to what's normal or what's common, why are you so strong on that stance?
You know, my son plays travel hockey, and his team did a vote for captains. He's the leader on the team, second on the team in goals and points and all of that. He didn't get voted captain. He came home. He was very upset. He didn't understand. It was a popularity contest. They all have cell phones. They did the texting, and they asked what happened, and he figured out he missed out by one vote. I told him point blank, son, no one has ever told me when I walk into a room whether I'm a leader or not. Leaders just are or they aren't. That's a choice that we make. So for me, when I made a choice a decade ago to get into this industry, I was not a leader. I didn't know how to lead because I didn't know enough. A decade later, I now am saying I'm going to lead in this industry because it's my career. It's going to be my career. It's going to be how I feed my family moving forward. So that being said, when people come in to my industry and my career and they teach things the wrong way, as a leader, it is my responsibility to say, fuck your bullshit. That's not the right way to do things, and we're going to run you out of here. Or you can comply and do things the right way. And I have no problem going head-to-head with anyone in regards to how to do things the right way or the wrong way. So
let's
talk
a little bit about the wrong ways a little bit, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important because we've probably got people on the chat right now or on the call right now that may be learning from others, watching other channels, doing things. What are some of the strategies that people should be mindful of?
One, if you have to lie to the seller, that is a problem. There is absolutely zero reason why you need to lie to the seller at all during a phone conversation. One, like I am so anti the fake finance department, fake underwriter, go talk to my partner. I can almost guarantee you that videos that are posted on the internet of people doing that and bragging about doing that is being leveraged against us to bring down regulations.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
So
that's why, because it's not transparent. We're not being transparent. And that's the biggest thing that the regulators don't like about our industry is we're dishonest, we're misleading. You're not being truthful about what you're doing in the transaction. That's the big thing. And
what
that's
does a
what
realtor have to always do in everything that they do? They
disclose.
What do we not have to do?
We think we can do whatever we want and say whatever we want because
that's not true. It's not true, Jerry. We know it's not true.
We know it's not true.
I also think that people don't take the long view on this. They don't think that it's a real business that you can build and have predictability and profitability for a long time. I think people see wholesaling as a stepping stone to other things. So the reputation with the sellers or their marketplace doesn't really need to be established. But I will tell you, the two top leads that I've ever dealt with in real estate are referrals and pay-per-click.
Mm-hmm.
And I am telling you right now, if you're doing deals online and you don't have good Google reviews because you keep canceling contracts, you keep not communicating effectively, you're not building real professional skills and have that professionalism and that leadership inside you, you're not going to last. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? So you have to establish that early on by being a truth teller, truth seeker to the property owners, to the let alone, Jamil, how about all the people that lie to their cash buyers, tell them it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath when it's a 1-bath? How about when they tell them that it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath and it's a 3-bedroom and the next one's a den and you have to go through 1 bedroom to get to the next one, or there's foundation issues, or the roof's caving in.
Or blatantly fudging the values, inflating values, undervaluing repairs. I mean, because it goes on the other side too. It goes on dispo, where you see so much just dishonesty in this industry.
How about sending out mail that has a check on it for 80% of Zillow price, regardless of the condition of the property?
Yeah.
That is, I don't know.
And you know what?
Sending out a letter that looks like you're in trouble of some sorts, and they need to call you in order to save their home.
All right, I'm gonna talk about. I do not know y'all's stance on this, but this is another one that I am completely adamant against. Filing memorandums on every single property.
I hate it.
On contract.
It's absolute trash. It's stupid.
Well, first of all, most people do not understand what they're even doing when they're filing a memorandum and what they have to have in place for that memorandum to even be enforceable. And what would happen if someone sued them because of them filing a memorandum incorrectly. These are the types of things that I'm looking at in this industry, where we have people come in and they say, listen, every deal you get under contract, file a memo. And it's like, no, that's not what you do. That's not what the tool exists for. And because you are not using the tool correctly, the tool is going to get taken away.
Not only that, but they're going to jail people.
Yes.
They're going to jail people on that memorandum nonsense, because people are using it for extortion. They have used the memorandum and turned it into extortion. The memorandum was there to protect contract holders from sellers who changed their mind after you've spent a tremendous amount of time and resources on doing a deal. That's it. It was a tool to be used towards the end of a deal when someone said, you know what? I sold it to somebody else. They gave me more money, and go pound sand. And I'll be honest with you guys, when somebody tells me that that's what they're going to do, my heart just says, okay, bye.
Yeah. I don't need this in my life.
I don't need the stress, and I don't want to fight.
And let me be clear, what Jamil is saying is not like over the top. This is not like worst case scenario. I literally just had the feds in my office, and that person was arrested and is facing many, many years in prison for doing things incorrectly. Like, if you want to do this business, you're going to have to get serious and actually run a business. This is not one of those things where it's like, oh, wholesaling is so simple. We can just come in and just write up all these contracts and terminate whenever we want, file memos and just screw people's lives. The feds will get involved.
Other big ones are unlimited contingencies. So you have all the way up until closing to terminate contracts. No earnest money, right? Or low, very low, like $10 earnest money. All of these things that don't make your contract very legitimate, yet you're trying to hold a seller to the contract, even though you're not willing to commit to the contract. That's the kind of stuff that when that gets in front of the regulators, when it gets in front of the courts or a judge, or it gets brought to light, makes us look really bad. It means we have to grow up and be real investors.
I'll disagree with you on the earnest money. And here's the reason why. What is the reason why we need to put $1,000 or 1% of the contract price down to make the contract enforceable? That to me is like, that's a choice
on
that
the
we
state
make.
law. In Arizona, you have to have consideration to have a valid contract.
I know, but I'm not saying you don't put any earnest money down. I'm saying if you put $100 down or $10 down, it's enforceable, right? It's a valid contract.
With $1, it's a valid contract.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, Jerry, this is where I draw the line. Okay. What I don't like is when we don't do things correctly. If we're doing things that just make us look dumb, all right, like $10 earnest money, that's a choice that we make. When we do things that can literally be pointed back to and said, like, you are purposely misusing this tool like a memorandum or you are purposely misleading a seller and lying to them, that's where I'm like, dude, we've got to draw a line in the sand here and say, we can't do this anymore. Because I'll be honest with you, I've put down low earnest money doing even direct on MLS deals and told the agent, like, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this. A lot of the reasons why we put low earnest money down is because we're buying sight unseen. And I don't want earnest money tied up if they don't have a mutual release agreement signed. Because most title companies will not release earnest money without a mutual release. So that's why I put low earnest money down. Again, this is where I think there's a lot of things that ultimately we do need to regulate on the wholesaling side to a certain degree. Like, we need a voice out there that says this is the way that we do things and we don't do it. And
the problem I have with very low earnest money is what it introduces is wholesalers that are very uncommitted to the process. And so if it's being used and treated that way, then I think that's where it can be very dangerous, because you're like, what do I care? I got $10 down. Who cares if the seller's got the U-Haul packed in the driveway? I couldn't find a buyer, no skin off my back. And so there's this very, there's an attitude out there around this where wholesalers are locking up stuff and they're just not committed to the process. And one way to commit yourself to the process is with earnest money, because you're going to see it through, right? But I see your point, RJ. I mean, it's not one thing or another thing. I think it's an overarching way of doing this business, looking at it. How are we treating people? What is this going to look like? If you were on the other side of the table, if it was your mom under contract with you, would you like that situation to go down like that? Right? It's really just having that integrity around what we do.
Jerry, great point. So with all of these lobbyists and regulators out there, if y'all want to do something that actually moves the needle for people inside these transactions, let me give you an idea. Just based off of what Jerry just said. How about we have a nationwide law that goes into place saying that inspection periods can only be X amount of time. Mm-hmm. And then after that, 1% earnest money has to be deposited and it's non-refundable back to the buyer.
Love that. I love that.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
None of us would have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But this
because then you don't have sellers in their U-Hauls on closing day, and people cancel contracts on closing day, and walking away from $10 EMD on closing day. You have none of the shenanigans. We have people who actually care now because they've got a vested interest in the process and in the deal, and they're going to do the right thing. And it's sad that we have to lose money, that people have to be forced to potentially lose money to do the right thing, but that's just humanity, I guess.
Yeah, and I think where I wanted to go with that, with this approach or this conversation, RJ, is I think you, Brent, Jamil, me, we have a moral obligation as educators in this industry to call this stuff out, to have a voice, to take a really strong position on this. There's no way we're going to turn this around and we're going to slow down this regulation or even be able to have a seat at the table or conversation if we don't really up the bar big time in what's being taught out there and what's being said and done, and be that example, be that voice for good in the community.
But again, Jerry, this comes back to how do we determine who's doing things the right way and the wrong way if there's not some voice or association or something that says this is how you wholesale. I don't think that there's people out there, like, for example, there are people that are teaching people to file memorandums and use the fake finance department. They don't think they're doing things incorrectly. So how do we right the ship if those people are teaching that and they think they're doing the right thing?
I mean, we have to create standardized best practices that people agree on. And there's
also, guys, when you say something and it's not true, it's fraud. I mean, that's just the reality.
I mean, lying is lying. There's no way to say
sales.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's not sales, guys. It's not sales. It's fraud. When you're deceiving somebody, it's fraud. And you make and then they have a loss on it. That's criminal fraud.
Yeah.
So when you see that, when you're watching your next influencer, when you're listening to the next thing that they're putting out there, and you start to see the discrepancies between the way they're doing things and what they're trying to tell you to do and how they're, playing the game, the bait and switch, all the things. Guys, think about it. Put yourself in the shoe of the person that they're talking to and imagine if you would be okay with that. Then make the decision.
Just real quick. I mean, we're kind of we're spitballing right now. And so I got an idea. I mean,
Liam says, so a fake proof of funds is not acceptable anymore?
I don't think so. How did real estate agent licensing come about? Like, who came up with that and said realtors or real estate agents, you have to get a license and this is how you do it?
It came because so many people, were practicing being salespeople in the real estate industry, and there was all kinds of shenanigans.
Yeah. I mean, the real estate commission has jurisdiction over brokering, and brokering is when you get compensated, when anybody gets compensated in a transaction for assisting in the buying or selling of real estate. You have to be regulated with a license because you could potentially harm a buyer or a seller by getting paid to assist in that, right? So that's why there's licensing for real estate agents. They're involved. They're telling sellers and buyers information. They could potentially harm that person and get paid to do so. Right now our workaround as wholesalers, our workaround is I'm a principal in a contract. I'm not brokering. Right now that position is not holding up anymore very well. It's not holding up very well. The laws are starting to come around and say, nice try, guys. I know you're hiding behind contract law, but we think you're doing no different and you're brokering. Now, we can all argue whether or not that's true or not, but that's what the positioning is happening in these states. That's what they're saying.
If we could put together a proof that wholesalers have a place in the marketplace to help buyers and sellers, right? How do we get jurisdiction to where we could actually put together a wholesale license?
You could do it right now. I mean, it's a creation. The realtor organization is a creation. It's just it's just bros getting together back in the early 1900s and saying, hey, we should have a code of ethics. There should be a right way to do this.
Brent's 100% right. Mateo Vega in the comment. Can you put Mateo Vega's comment up? I'm not saying anything against you here, brother, but I want to point out, he says that's the government having their fingers all up in there. They create a National Association of Realtors, just another way of generating revenue for the states and the government. No, brother, it's not. It has nothing to do with the government. It has nothing to do with the state. It is an independent body. It is an independent body that has no government regulation, no
nonprofit
law. It's a nonprofit. We could, as a group, and guys, I want to remind everybody that 4 years ago, Jerry Norton collected Brent, myself, and Pace, and we sat in an office just down the hall from where Brent's sitting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a podcast about creating a National Association of Wholesalers. And for 6 months, y'all sent hate mail to Jerry, Brent, Pace, and myself saying that it was a money grab to try to regulate wholesaling, and y'all wanted nothing to do with it. I just want to point it out because Jerry tried to do this as a nonprofit in a very altruistic, honest to goodness. I remember his intentions. I remember what Jerry was trying to do, and we supported him. And how much hate mail did you get over that, bro?
Oh, so much. Yeah. I mean, everybody wants to be a cowboy. Nobody wants to, it was all about, you guys are going to collect fees from us and try to control us.
Everybody wants to be a cowboy. Nobody wants to be the Indian, okay?
Well,
I'm right here.
I like the idea. I think we should resurrect the idea. And all I'm going to say is hell yeah, I want to collect fees from you and control all of you. There you go. Y'all are too crazy. And yes, I need to be Jamil rich. Okay. No, I listen. I think it's going to have to come to that at some point in time. I don't know if we're there yet, but I don't see how else we can control this, Jerry, to change the narrative. I mean, like what you're saying right now. I mean, we're talking about what's wrong or what's not wrong. There's so many different thoughts and processes behind it. I mean,
I mean, at the end of the day, building the skill of speaking with and negotiating with sellers and finding great deals is not going to go away. That's always going to be there. And having ethics behind that is going to keep you in the business a long time. So whether or not we could pull something together and get enough people on board to have an association or have, some sort of code of ethics, at the end of the day, it's what are you doing out there that's going to build a long-lasting business? Are you just messing around to grab some money here and there and then go off into some other industry? Or are you just grabbing some experience to then go be a real estate agent? Or you grabbing some experience to then try to buy some rentals? Like, what are you doing? What's the end game? What's the long-term plan of even wholesaling in the beginning? Because if the long-term plan is to get enough excess income after your expenses to be able to buy assets, you have to do it for a long time and you have to be really good at it. If you don't do it for a long time and don't get good at it, it's not going to change anything in your life financially. So what's the point? Why even get started with it? You know what I mean? Like, this is not I'm going to do this and then I'm going to become a flipper and then I'm going to become a buy and holder and then I'm going to be a developer and do all this. That's nonsense. You're going to find at the end of the day, just like Jerry has, just like RJ has, just like Jamil has, that there's different situations. We have different techniques, but at the core of it, we know how to find great opportunities. We know how to effectively communicate with property owners when they go to a website that says, sell my house without a realtor, and they fill in a website with their information because they want to sell their house fast. And so getting really good at the skills and having really high morals is going to keep you in the, you look at it as a selfish thing, if nothing else. Everybody that was talking to me about the technique of locking properties up really high and then beating up the sellers in the inspection period are all in crypto right now. They're all in drop shipping right now. They're all running some sort of weird TikTok shop right now. I swear to you, right now they're running TikTok shops. Okay? That is the absolute facts. If you want to be in the best business ever, which is real estate investing, and you want to be long lasting, and you want to build a great network of people that are going to make you a real multimillionaire, really financially free, take it seriously and tell the truth and build really good systems that'll allow you to be in this business a long time. Because the people that were doing all these crazy techniques or coming up with crazy plans and the newest scheme to be able to get free properties, it doesn't work long term. It never does. It never does. But building skills of effectively communicating with property owners does. And there's so much that you can make doing that. So you got to subscribe to RJ. You got to subscribe to me. You got to subscribe to Jerry and Jamil and Pace and really learn the skills from people that have been doing it for a while. Not somebody that just found this on TikTok 24 months ago and makes live calls to property owners from wherever, some foreign land. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest business ever. Treat it like a real business. Treat it like a real business.
Yeah, I'd add to that too, Brent. Where there is regulation coming, I think there's 13, 14 states that have some form of regulation now. If you're going to transact in those states, you better learn what those laws are and you better follow them, whether you agree with it or not. I get so many people, because I cover this quite a bit, that are like, well, I'm going to do it anyway because I don't like that law. Well, I don't like paying taxes, guys, but I do it anyway. It doesn't matter.
The law until the windbreakers are outside your door.
Right.
Okay. There's a lot of laws I don't like.
Me too.
Success is a good night's sleep.
That's it.
For real. You could ask any one of us that have done something stupid and it keeps you up at night and it nags at you, whether it be personal, whether it be professional, whether it be ethical, whether it be moral, whatever it is, when you screw up. And I'm telling you, if you do it the wrong way, you will not get a good night's sleep, and it's not worth any of the money that you make. It's not worth it because you're just going to go crazy, and then you're going to take a bunch of medications and go bananas, and it's going to turn into a really dark time in your life. I've been there. not doing the bad things, but like losing everything and thinking of all the mistakes that I've made and doing really stupid things personally. It's horrible. But if you build off of really good foundation of being serious about being a real estate entrepreneur for a long time and building those skills, you're going to win, and you're going to sleep so nice, so nice. You're going to sleep in, you're going to hit the snoozy button. You're going to be like, I'm going to snooze a little longer. I'm going to a little snooze.
Yeah. Something I've heard RJ say, and I think I've heard all of you guys say this, is in a wholesale business, in a wholesale transaction, everybody should be winning. The seller should win. Your buyer should win. You should win. If everybody's not winning, then it's not getting set up right. The deal's not going down how it should. Everybody should be winning.
And so let's unpack that a little bit, okay, for a moment, because I think it's important. What does it mean that everybody win, guys? So if Jerry says that the seller has to win, what does that mean? That means that we don't take advantage of them. That means that we don't lie to them. That means that we don't put them in situations that are going to be terrible for them. That means that we don't bait and switch them. That means that we don't put them in extortionary situations. That means that we are honest about value and honest about where our number is and why it's there. As the buyer, that means we're not lying on ARV. That means we're not pretending that we are, rehabs or something, because a lot of people are getting into the fix and flip business that are, firemen.
Naive.
And they're naive and they don't know. And they think you've got the ticket to the deal because they see your wholesale contract and you're telling them you get this renovation done in $25,000. That person hasn't been to Home Depot in 10 years. They don't know it's going to be $100,000 renovation. You're telling them it's 20 grand. Stop lying. Right? So think about it. When you're inflating your ARVs, you're deflating your construction costs. When you're doing gymnastics to figure out your comps, when you're not following the rules, right? Your buyer's not going to win. Here's another one, and I'm going to get a ton of flack for this one, and all of you guys are going to hate me for it. I know it because all of you love it. Here's something that I think about. I care about my buyers so much that when I got a huge assignment fee on a deal, if I'm going to make a really nice clip on it because I did well on it, I'm going to double close that one, because I don't want it to record at the lower price so that they're not going to have that terrible appraisal situation when they flip the property, because we all know what it looks like to be on the other side of that appraisal. When they come in and say, you paid how much for this thing? 300. You're like, no, I paid 380.
Yeah.
There was an $80,000 assignment fee on there. Well, it doesn't show on the tax record. So in those moments, you got to do the thing for the buyer. Maybe you double close it, or figure out with your title company how the affidavit of value will reflect the end buyer's price. Like, that's the important things. Be honest for the buyer so that they're not going to get slammed in their appraisal. But think about it. Have these things in your mind. And I even say that to a buyer. I'll say, look, I got two options for you. I'm doing well on this one. I don't want you to have an appraisal problem. So are you okay if we double close this and you be okay with paying the double closing expenses? Because you're good with this number, but I don't want you to have an appraisal problem later. So should we double close and you'll just pay those double closing expenses? And then that's the way we go. And I'm telling you how many times they say to me, thank you for thinking of that. I never thought of that. Thank you for thinking of that, because I would have closed this on closing day. I would have seen your $60,000 assignment fee, and I would have been like, oh, that's going to be a low recorded number. That's going to be hard when I go to flip this thing. So
Jamil,
I'm
so confused. When I watched TikTok and they told me to double close, it was to hide how much damn money I was making. You mean it's actually to be nice to the buyer?
Yes.
That's not what.
Wow, there's a novel idea.
Especially if they're brand new guys and they don't have any idea of appraisal rules.
Yeah.
For real. Like, especially with those, you got to be you really have to understand your buyer. Now, if you have somebody that knows exactly what they're doing, they know they're going to turn in their purchase agreement to the appraiser. They're going to show all their costs. They're going to do all these things. That's great. But if they're a mom and pop just doing their first one, or some young kid that went out and raised funds from people that they know with stars in their eyes, and they're ready to do their first flip, and they do a great job, get it sold fast, and the appraisal crashes down on them because the appraiser doesn't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. They just see this huge markup, and they have to justify that because it is a risk assessment for the bank. That's what an appraisal is, and they want to know what's going on there. Just make sure you understand who you're selling your deals to, for sure.
Yeah, I think Jamil's point though is like, do the right thing. Everybody should win in the transaction.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yep.
You have to. That's the only way that you get repeat customers from the buyer side. That's the only way.
So funny you bring that up, Brent. Our whole business is built on being able to sell deals to repeat buyers. When we talked early on, and it was about, RJ, why are you picking these markets, and how can you get your cost per contract so low? Well, it's because we built relationships. How do people want to repeatedly buy deals from you? You give them good deals, equity and cash flow. That's what they're looking for. And you take care of those buyers, and you truly understand where they're buying their deals and why they're buying those deals. And quite frankly, there's going to be times where, yeah, like Jamil said, you can make a solid rip off of it. There's also going to be times where I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, man, this guy's bought, 15 deals from me, and he's wanting to close the week before Christmas on another deal. Yeah, we'll give him the 10 grand off. We'll make 10 instead of 20 on this one, because I want to take care of him, and he's willing to do something most people aren't willing to do, which is pick the phone up. We had a deal. We had a buyer buy a deal from us on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and close the Monday after Thanksgiving. So essentially 0 business days to make sure the seller did not get foreclosed on. The only way that happens is relationship and making sure that everyone is taken care of repeatedly every single time we do a deal.
Yeah. Guys, this has been
a
great conversation.
I think this has been one of the best wholesale hotlines. This has been a fantastic. I mean, I hope you guys have learned a lot. Leave a comment and say you've learned a ton from this conversation with RJ on here. This has been great.
And RJ, something that you just put into my head, or it started early on. I think when people are starting out, if they can get $29 leads, and maybe they're not the best, maybe they have to talk to a bunch, it's a great way to break the ice in this business. It's a great way. It's almost like speaking to a for sale by owner, right? You know that they want to sell. Now, most for sale by owners are bananas with their price, and they want to get as much as possible, and they're just unrealistic. But this gives you the opportunity to build up momentum and build up the reps that you get, talking to somebody that wants to sell their property. And I think that it doesn't matter where it's at. You can squat up with people. You can see if other people can help you comp the property and really understand what a decent offer would be. I'm not saying just throw out anything to these sellers that they want, but I think it's a really interesting approach to instead of just cold calling when you're starting, or door knocking where we usually start, or calling agents. This could be a fourth avenue where people, yes, you have to have a budget. Yes, it's going to cost you $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. But if that's the case, and you're actually speaking with people that want to sell their property, you can get the discovery process. You can actually get past their first, kind of knee-jerk bubble force field reaction that you deal with when you're getting a lot of rejection from whether it be agents or direct to sellers. It's an interesting. I'd be interested to start 4 people with no experience with the same budget, have them each do one of those agents, $29 leads, cold calls to ugly houses, or door knocking pre-foreclosures, which would come out on top.
Did I respond to a comment real quick? All right. So I get asked this all the time. There's quite a few people still watching. I just want to put something to rest. There is absolutely no beef between me and Pace. Okay.
No, none at all.
I love Pace. Pace loves me. Okay. Pace did make a comment. He did, quote unquote, call me out on one of his videos. Here's the deal. Pace is a very passionate teacher. He is also a competitive business operator. He believes passionately in what he teaches. So do I. Okay. repeatedly, I have made fun of Pace in my passionate moments. All right. I'm like, this isn't where we use the peace sign. We don't have any bunny rabbits going on over here. Like, we make jokes. Okay. We are brothers. He made a comment. All right. I watched it. It wasn't that bad. All right. He didn't call me out. We still love each other. Trust me. If I don't love him, I make a video about it. So if you want to know the ones I don't love, just go to my YouTube channel and you can see the ones I've called out. All right.
Well, and I want to bring something. I was going to say here, at the end here, RJ, that I want to personally thank you for just taking a strong stance on what you believe is right and wrong. Now, it could be that you're wrong, or it could be that whatever your position isn't the only way. Maybe there is another way other than the way you do things, right? But at least you take a moral stance. You stand for something. You believe in what you're doing. You teach at a high level. You're very much about honesty and transparency, and you're willing to put your neck out on the line. You're willing to call out stuff that you're seeing that's not right in the industry. And I have tremendous respect for that. And I want to ask you to keep being that person, because we're in a world where people are afraid to do that. Even people in prominent positions, they're afraid to do that. And so I just appreciate that and respect that, and I want to tell you to keep doing that.
I appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you three, Pace included. I appreciate the conversation that we had earlier today, Jerry. It means a lot to me because I've always considered you a leader in this industry, and just you're on the Mount Rushmore, right? And so I appreciate the support because listen, there's times where my personality is very uncomfortable to have. All right, I'm just gonna be honest with you. When I see something and I'm like, I have to say something about it. Here's where my Saturday was when the video that I'm personally referencing right now came out. I was at my son's hockey game. He had a hockey tournament all weekend. I was with my family. I'm getting text messages. I'm getting phone calls. I'm seeing comment after comment after comment coming out. My team made a post inside of my Facebook group. I'm getting blown up on notifications like, what's going on? It's uncomfortable sometimes to take that stance, but that's part of being a leader. Yeah. Sometimes leaders have to do really uncomfortable things because it's what they stand for. And I cherish you guys for doing this. Dude, I remember when y'all first did Wholesale Hotline, and I said, I missed this one just like I missed Steve Train. I said, there's absolutely no way these knuckleheads are going to show up every single Monday. There's absolutely no way. You guys have continued to do it. I also told Steve Train there's no way.
For 250 weeks almost, bro.
I thought we were on 249 times 20.
249. I asked Yvette. She said she changes it every time, Brent. So we have to go back and look. So yeah,
that's a shout out to Brent Daniels. Brent Daniels has been the staple of this podcast. I mean, thank you, Brent. You don't let this go by every week without getting covered. It's amazing.
Yeah, I love this business. I've been in this business 20 years, and just being able to open the door and have conversations with the best of the best on this show. We absolutely have. And it's been a true honor, and I love coming here. I love the audience. I love the people that get a lot out of this, and people join my community. People join our mentorship from this, and they learn so much, and they go into yours, Jerry, and yours, RJ, and yours, Jamil, and Paces and everything. And they feel like there's a synergy there because we all squat up, and that's how business should be.
And we don't shy away from the hard stuff. We tackle the hard stuff. We face the hard stuff. We're not afraid to do it. And that's what we should do.
Now, speaking of hard stuff, before we wrap here, guys. So we're on Apple and Spotify, and you guys have all spoken today in your chat about how much you loved this episode. Do us a solid. Every week we bring you this incredible show at no charge. Go leave us a review. It takes nothing but a moment for you to go in, leave us a review, give us your thoughts, say hi to RJ. If you want to have RJ here more, go say it in the comments. Go put a review on there and say more RJ. Go put it there. The Wholesale Hotline gods listen, and they do what you want, right? So go go leave us a review. Go tell us what you thought about the episode. Go tell us what you think about the show on Apple and Spotify. It means a lot to us. And we appreciate you guys for tuning in Monday after Monday.
And by the way, I'm going live with RJ Thursday, right? RJ, we're going to go live again, calling sellers. And so, like RJ puts his money where his mouth is. I'm willing to do that too. And you guys get to learn by watching. And there's no faster way and better way to learn than seeing these calls go on live. I mean, it's the best.
I'm just going to say this. I want something, and so I'm going to ask for it. But before I ask for it, I'm going to offer value in return, because I think that's what works better than anything. So, one, I'm going to extend the invitation to Jamil and Brent. At any point in time, you guys want to come on and call sellers, we can stream it on your channel, stream it on mine. I would love to be able to do that. Jamil, also, the first thing I ever did with Jerry was he called agents and I went direct to seller. So if you want to do that, you can do that.
Yeah, we did agent versus seller. It was fun.
I'd love to be able to do it.
Let's go. I'm down to kick it. Let's go, man. I've been getting in the trenches with Jerry here quite a bit. Been having a good time doing it. I was, you build a Keegley, you become, you kind of sit in the top of your mountain and you're just like, wait, hold on. It was way more fun at base camp, and so I ran my ass down the mountain. And I'm just hanging with it. I'm just hanging, I want to do all of the things.
I'm just saying, I think it would be amazing if we all did it together one day. We could do it. Leads come in. We can pick our lead provider. So
let's go.
We'll figure that out. The next thing is I just wrote down my first 2025 goal, and that is to become a regular on a wholesale hotline.
Whoa.
Done. Let's go.
I will show up. One thing you can say about me, I'm consistent as a tree, baby. And so I'm
going to put this out here because Jerry became a regular on Wholesale Hotline. He showed up over and over again. And then one day we proposed to Jerry and he accepted. Here's what, guys, you want to see RJ on Wholesale Hotline more? Go leave that review.
There you go.
Go leave that review. We need to see that. Go show RJ love in those reviews right now. Because I think you all love this episode.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times I've seen more RJ in the chat. So then don't be lazy.
This is the fourth time I've been on here. It's a once a year event right now.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I could be the next Jerry Norton. That's actually my life goal. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know if I'm going to have 10 kids, but
this was great. RJ, thank you so much, brother. You're amazing. Love you guys.
Thank you guys for having me.
Hey,
guys,
everyone.
check them out Thursday. Where do they check you out? Your YouTube channel?
What's
RJ?
It'll be on
RJ,
both
your
mine
YouTube.
and Jerry's.
One more time.
2:22 Central, Thursday, mine and Jerry's YouTube channels. We're going to be going live for about 2 hours calling sellers. Listen, every time we do it, we get deals.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to see how easy it is to get deals and watch the right way to do it, I can promise you this. We will not, on a funny note, we will not talk to less sellers. We will not condition sellers. We will not lowball. We will not be leaving, and we will not sign now and sign quick. But we will use the king closers formula. That's my sign off.
Awesome. Guys, I'm going to go live Wednesday on the Brent Daniels YouTube channel at, what is that? Noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to be breaking down all of my results, every deal that I did this year. I'm going to show you exactly how I found them. I'm going to show you the cost for each one. I'm going to show you what I made on each one. I'm going to show you our plan for 2025. Also break down my team and how I pay them. So I think it's real important to understand and have some transparency behind the people that you listen to and learn from. And so we're gonna rip into that and leave it open to question and answers on Wednesday. So,
Brent, I love that. If you're following somebody and they're not doing this business and they're not willing to show you how they do this business, you're following the wrong person, because they're not doing it. So what are they teaching you? Antiquated, regurgitated, somebody else's stuff is what they're doing.
Yeah.
And last thing, guys, on Sunday, I've been working on this one for a minute. But you guys know I'm a big mindset guy. I have a strong belief in the quantum nature of our reality here, and I've been figuring out the fastest and most replicatable ways to slip into the quantum field and manifest anything you want this Sunday at 1 o'clock on my YouTube channel, guys.
Awesome. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Woo.
Appreciate you. See ya.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.